Now we need to install the bearings. So we have the bearings over here. One of them goes on the inside, the other one goes on the outside. And again, when you install them, try to make sure that they go in flat. If not, you will have a difficult time installing these. Now, one of the things that I do like about the four-wheel drive models is that these hub carriers, the rear hub carriers, are more robust than the two-wheel drive. This is something that I'm wondering if the two-wheel drive kit comes with the better rear carriers or if it comes with the really basic cheap ones that break when you look at them. Once you do that, now these are universal, so left or right. We're gonna grab our half shafts over here. And before you install them, make sure that you put one of these little washers. And so this is to, again, protect the bearing. Now, one of the things that I'm noticing is this one here actually has these little marks. So this is a defective one. I will install it now, but then I'm gonna have to contact Traxxas about that. As you can see, those little teeth marks there. That shouldn't be there. But for this installation, we'll do this. I have some spare ones I can later swap out. All right, and then you put a washer on the other side again. This is to protect the bearing. Once we have that, you will install the pin, and that will go in there. And you grab the hex, and the hex has the little marks in there, and just like the front ones, they simply clip on. Now, if you are planning on running a higher power system, for some reason on something like this, just for fun maybe, I do recommend that you go with the aluminum hexes. The plastic ones actually start giving out, they wear out, and you have a plastic hex and a plastic wheel. They're just gonna round each other out. All right. Go. All right, now we can install these. Again, if you look at the two holes, one of them, actually these look the same. Usually one of them looks a little larger, and that's the threaded side. All right, so these just go in there, and then you just run these little pins, all right, just like in the front. You run them through there, and this is a 1.5, I believe. And then as soon as you feel that resistance, you stop. You do not want to over tighten these, you will damage them. And then when you run, they will simply fall out. Usually what ends up happening is they'll hit the plastic, they'll start backing out, and then they'll hit, and then one of your wheels will stop spinning, your vehicle will sort of brake really fast and then spin out, and then when you hit throttle, it'll just do donuts. It's usually because one of your wheels is locked. It's because one of these pins, these can actually back out far enough and hit either the arm or they'll hit the shock tower. Now, if you're planning on upgrading these, let's just say you do want to run high power, the ones to get are the Traxxas steel shafts or the metal shafts. Those I think are the best. MIP are good. Entity makes some good ones as well. The problem with the MIPs is I don't think they're as durable. They're a lot heavier than the Traxxas, but I think the Traxxas ones are a lot better. The MIP, they tend to fall apart. That has been my experience with them. In the comments below, go ahead and talk about your experience with either one, the Traxxas or the MIP. The Traxxas ones are about $60–$70. All right, now we have these pins here. I'm gonna build it as it is here, but eventually you're gonna notice that one of them will start backing out. Just flip it and reverse it. So if I remember correctly, it's usually right, goes rear to front, and the other one goes the other way. If they both start backing up, then I'll just flip them. I wish I had another Traxxas vehicle so I could confirm. But here it shows them both going front to rear this way, right? This is the front, that's the rear. But I'm gonna install them this way. So like I said, either I got it right or I got them both wrong. But it's not a big deal. If you see one backing out, just flip it. And that's all you need to do. And then as the suspension works, it'll sort of tighten itself. And there it is. All right. Perfect. Right, now we can install the links. So for the links, we're gonna need these little washers here. So we're gonna need 4 of them. I'll place them over here. The other 2 we will need later. Not at this time. So here we have the links. We're going to be using these screws right over here. And for each screw, we're going to need 1 of these washers on the opposite end. And the stock build, let's see, this should be 2.5, calls for the top outer hole. So I'll be placing this on the top outer hole, and it goes rear to front. And we'll need 1 more. Oops, put the washer on first. Here we go, washer comes after. And for something stock that you're just gonna bash around at the speed that this thing will go with a Titan motor, you really do not need adjustable links. The stock links are really good enough. And it's one less thing you have to worry about, one less thing you have to mess around with. Especially if you take a hard impact. These are gonna be strong enough. The other ones I've actually stripped the inside. So these links, like I mentioned, are good enough. Especially on the Vortex. Vortex, it's very easy to damage them. But so far I'm really liking this kit. The build is quite easy. I like it. I think this is great for somebody that just wants to build a kit, right? You can say, I built it. Or somebody that wants to make sure that it's built with care, which is the biggest thing. Some of the components are already pre-built for you. For example, the shocks. So the dampers were already pre-assembled, you just needed to fill them. And the steering links, which if you've watched some of my other videos, I always mention building shocks and steering links are 2 of the things I like least. Steering links, I just consider them to be a pain. And shocks, I just don't like the shock oil, don't like the way it feels. Something about it. See, if it felt more like oil or similar to lard, I would probably tolerate it more, but it's a different sensation. All right, so we have completed this section here. Now we're gonna need the dampers, and it's gonna be the rear ones, which are the long ones. So we're gonna grab these that we had off to the side, and for these, they will go, the top will go on the center, and we will be needing the remaining 2. So these 2 here. and again 2.5. Now these are going to go front to rear. So they're going to go on the front of the shock tower, the front of the arms. And if you cannot really mount these incorrectly by accident, I suppose you could, but if you were to mount them here wrong, you would notice it would hit everything and something was wrong right away, even before you mounted these, because of the weird angle. So that's something to think about. Let's go ahead and mount the second one. And again, we will go middle. And as I mentioned with the front, if you saw that video, if you are just bashing, taking high jumps, you may want to go all the way to the outer, just so your shocks are as vertical as can be. And you want that so they can absorb more of the impact. Right, so we have both of these, and the flared side is going to go toward the arm. So notice this is not flared, this one is flared. So this will go toward the arm. That is it. And I believe it's the second hole on the bottom. And this is usually where the sway bar goes on the short course. Here, this is where the guard will be going. So if you have the guard, you will not be able to mount a sway bar unless you remove this. Now, one quick little note, I did forget to put the washer here. There's supposed to be a washer in there. I'll put these washers in there later. Right now, I'm just going to continue with this. I'll do them toward the end. Let's see, I'm just going to hold this, place this here, place a screw, drop everything. There we go. All right. And I find it easier to do the guard first than to do the shock. Right. So it's just this screw here, and then the other screw on the shock holds the other one. One thing that you could do if you wanted to run the sway bar, instead of using that screw, you could put a second screw somewhere in here, because these screws correspond to the holes in the arms. So you would just mount the shock first. I'm going to mount this, let's see, this spun. I will be mounting this on the middle hole. If I can get this, there we go. And can't really see. And there it is. Perfect. So I'm going in the second shock hole. From inside out. And again, snug is all you need. Something you could do, the arms, if you're running the stock system, the arms are fine. But if you start running high-powered systems, you may want to consider replacing the arms after you break them, you will have to replace them. But consider using the Traxxas winter plastic option. That is a very good option. You can also use the RPM. RPMs are really good, but consider the Traxxas winter arms. They do come in different colors, not that I care for all of the colors they come in, but you do have those options if you want to customize the look of your Stampede. Let's see. right? And that is it. So these are on, everything's on. Now at this point, if you want to keep watching, please do. I'm just going to place the washers here. I will show you that everything works as it should. Actually, it's working now. The only thing I forgot to install, as I mentioned earlier in the video, are these washers. Mainly because I'm not used to using washers and shocks. Well, here on the mounting points. Really am not. Most of the shocks on many kits, they will have a little barrel that goes in there that will pivot. That's the way the Techno shocks are, Team Associated shocks as well. But if you make this mistake, it doesn't take that long to fix. Not a major one. And it would operate well even if you didn't install the washers. If you were doing competitive racing, something like this may make a difference, especially once you become an all-star racer. But something like this, you wouldn't have noticed. I wouldn't have noticed. All right, that is it. So there it is. This is the rear end. Everything looks good. Everything functions well. And it's ready. So now I have the front and rear. On the next one, we will continue with our build. Thank you so much for watching. Please comment below, subscribe if you have not already.
What? Oh, my hair! My tongue! My rod!